Chapter 276. Begin. Han Jifei's martial arts suit swelled, and he took a step forward. His whole body was like a high-speed heavy truck. As the ring shook slightly, he rushed in front of Lu Qing. Using his right fist as a charging horn, he twisted his waist and swung his arm, fiercely, bumping out. It looked no different from a normal attack, but the whole process was silent to the point of being frighteningly quiet. Such an imposing and powerful attack didn't even stir up the wind. The contrast between the two was indescribably strange. After comprehending the meaning of withdraw, Lu Qing could reach the state of silent punches and feet. Through the agitation of muscles and tendons, he could offset the explosive sound of the punch. However, he knew he couldn't reach Han Jifei's level. This should be combined with the circulation of a special force and the spread of waves. Knowing this, Lu Qing understood that Han Jifei had a target in mind. He wasn't afraid of giving him time to prepare for severe warning, so he must have corresponding countermeasures, just like Zhang Zhutong. As for how to counter and what would happen, Lu Qing thought of a few possibilities, but he couldn't make an accurate judgment. He could only be cautious. He visualized a thundercloud, tightened the muscles of his arms, stepped forward, swung his shoulders, endured the pain of his tendons, and threw a blast punch. With a crisp bang, the two fists were about to collide. At this moment, Han Jifei's martial arts suit suddenly tightened, revealing his angular muscles and dragon-like tendons. The movement that had disappeared a moment ago suddenly reappeared, and out of nowhere there was a clap of thunder. Boom! The air was stirred up, and the wind was raging. Han Jifei's fist inexplicably changed, strangely revealing a sense of emptiness. It attracted the surrounding airflow visible to the naked eye and condensed, creating a layer of air cushion in an instant. With this layer of protection, even if the opponent uses a simplified physical invulnerability move, I can escape in time. And the void fist's chi-condensing effect was not limited to this point. Puff! The two collided, and the air cushion exploded. Han Jifei took advantage of the recoil and flicked his wrist without warning, passing Lu Qing's fist. He opened his 5 fingers with a snap, exposing his tendons, and grabbed his opponent's wrist. Lu Qing didn't panic. He relaxed his tendons at the same time, and the sound of thunder echoed in his mind. Bang! Han Jifei's muscles swelled and vibrated outwards, shaking Han Jifei's 5 fingers and wrists. Pulling back his shoulders, Lu Qing's right hand drew a beautiful arc and grabbed his opponent's wrist. Big and small hand wrap. Han Jifei's expression slightly changed. He suddenly took a deep breath. His body suddenly became empty, including his right arm. Lu Qing's 5 fingers pressed down, but it was as if he was grasping at air. He felt that his opponent was weak and slippery like a loach. He quickly broke free and retreated. How could it be that simple? The look in Lu Qing's eyes sharpened. His elbow joint made a crisp sound, and he threw out his forearm. Like a lightning bolt, he chased after Han Jifei. His fingers formed a sword in his palm, and he stabbed toward Han Jifei's right wrist. This was not some kind of move, but a second burst of force that utilized the changes in the joints and fascia. The feeling of emptiness couldn't be maintained for long. Han Jifei didn't dare to be negligent. He bounced his waist and back, hurriedly swinging his right shoulder and pulling his arm quickly to avoid Lu Qing's finger sword. At the same time, he took advantage of the situation to swell his abdominal muscles, trying to shake out his left arm to counterattack his opponent. One was advancing while the other was retreating. Lu Qing's relentless pursuit of his right hand, and his series of strong attacks, was waiting for this moment. Sure enough, when Han Jifei threw out his left fist, because of the injury on his ribs, his movements weren't smooth enough. There was a moment of sluggishness. In a flash, Lu Qing's qi and blood flowed back, and his spirit gathered in his lower abdomen. He stood like a human body Big Dan. Han Jifei had been in the arena for a long time. When he saw that Lu Qing had grasped his weakness, he hastily stopped his movements and followed up with a force concentration. Boom! Lu Cheng's body expanded a bit, and his momentum flourished. He took a step forward, swung his left arm, and blasted out a forward punch that tore through the air. Since everyone thinks that I've used up too much strength in the last match and won't be able to recover much in 1.5 hours, then I'll go along with this idea. I'll use an urgent attack to show off my momentum. So, I'll first set a small goal and complete 3 consecutive bursts. Han Jifei was a beat slower. Facing the enemy's aggressive attack, he only had enough time to use the power of the Dan stage to swell his arms and cross them in front of his body. Bang! At the point of contact, the sound of wind filled the air. Han Jifei's defense was as steady as Mount Tai, but Lu Qing used the force of the rebound to squirm his muscles and swing his body. Once again, he condensed his strength in his dantian, and without stopping, his whole body's strength gushed out. He did a small jump step, and his body leaned down. His right arm swelled to an astonishing degree, and he ferociously clenched his fist and threw a punch. Under this stance, it seemed to grow longer, and he wanted to directly hit his opponent's lower body into the arena. Brutal blizzard double explosion. Han Jifei didn't have enough time to dodge. He could only make another force concentration and raise his arms. When Lu Cheng's fist hit him, he followed the momentum and pulled back, reducing part of the power. Then he flipped over and fiercely blocked. Bang! Lu Cheng's body swayed again, but his center of gravity quickly stabilized. His spirit, qi, blood, and strength gathered again. Han Jifei used the rebound of the block to slide back and quickly pull apart the distance. Bang! The strength in Lu Cheng's body gushed out. He lifted his waist, tightened his thighs, and his right foot almost didn't stop to kick out. It seemed to draw an afterimage in the air, filling the gap created by his opponent. In a flash, he rushed in front of his opponent like an avalanche. As Han Jifei retreated, he once again lowered his center of gravity and made a force concentration, making his body empty. Then, as his temples bulged, he flew up and kicked Lu Cheng's instep. Bang! The soles of his shoes exploded, turning into butterflies that fell to the ground. Learning from Zhang Zhudong's example, Han Jifei was able to get rid of Lu Cheng's 24 blizzard strikes in advance. He launched his body movement, circling the pillar to attack. And Lu Qing had achieved his initial goal. His momentum overshadowed his opponent, and he suppressed Han Jifei's idea of saving energy by gaining the upper hand. In fact, he could at most make a quadruple explosion just now. He couldn't make a quintuple explosion even if he was beaten to death, even if he had the support of the Jin Dan. So, he had always thought of a triple explosion. That way, even if he made a lot of tremor punches, he could still make a double explosion. His current strategy was to use the tremor punch, which didn't require much energy, when Han Jifei thought he had failed to seize the initiative and was an arrow at the end of its flight. This seemed to be similar to the process of his fight with Zhang Zhutong, but at that time, he was trying to avoid such a situation. The reason was that the opponent was different, so of course, the choice was different. The former's furnace force's burden on the body was very small, and the power was very terrifying. The longer the fight, the more Lu Qing would suffer. But now, Han Jifei had been fighting for a long time, and the energy consumption of the Void Fist was about the same as the Frost Force. It was worthwhile to compete with him in terms of physical strength. As for the Void Fist, Lu Qing intended to use the Tremor Punch to deal with it. As soon as they made contact, he would immediately explode his muscles to create a shock and disperse the invisible force. Although this would reduce the impact of the shock on Han Jifei, it was the only way to be safe. Bang bang bang. Bang bang bang. Lu Qing firmly carried out his idea and continuously responded to Han Jifei's attack with the Tremor Punch, regardless of whether he used the Void Fist or not. During this process, he didn't blindly defend, because when faced with an enemy who was much stronger than him, he would lose if he kept defending. As long as he seized the opportunity, Lu Qing would immediately counterattack, suppress the enemy for a while, and then return to a stable defensive situation. Normally, Han Zhifei wouldn't give him too many chances, but today his left rib was injured, and his flaws were obvious. From time to time, he would be exposed and targeted. Fists and feet flew back and forth, and the two people fought fiercely. The audience in the stadium and Yan Zhike in the waiting room unconsciously hung up their hearts, waiting for the outcome to be clear. Lu Cheng's body was injured, and his muscles and meridians were still under the influence of the furnace. The more he fought, the more painful it became. The more he fought, the more unbearable it became. The more he fought, the more his strength was affected. If it had just started, he wouldn't have been able to last more than 10 moves in front of Han Zhifei. Fortunately, Han Zhifei was also showing signs of fatigue, and couldn't take advantage of the several times when Lu Cheng's strength was weak. After fighting for a while, Han Zhifei didn't clearly feel anything, but with his intuition and rich fighting experience, he sensed something bad was going to happen. If he continued to fight like this, his opponent, who seemed to be on the verge of collapse, wouldn't fall. At that time, his physical strength would drop to the dangerous level, and he would be in real danger. I can't drag this on. Han Zhifei narrowed his eyes and made a decision. He immediately showed a flaw, exposing the weakness of his left rib. Lu Qing carried out his fighting style. He slid close, raised his left hand to protect his body, and swung his right arm. His fist shot out like lightning towards his opponent's left rib. Han Zhifei's expression was grave and stern. He didn't pay attention to his opponent's fierce attack. He took a deep breath, emptied his body, and then used force concentration. Puff! As soon as Lu Qing hit him, he felt that Han Zhifei's bones were contracting, and his muscles were collapsing, creating a hollow space in the void. He narrowly avoided the explosion of strength. Not good. Just as he was about to bounce back, he found that the hollow space drew support from the contraction of strength, spirit, and qi and blood. It had an indescribable suction force on material objects, making him involuntarily lean forward. Not good. Similar thoughts flashed through his mind again. Lu Qing no longer hesitated. His willpower surged, and his body sank. His qi and blood immediately flowed back to embrace his strength and spirit, allowing him to stand steadily and withdraw his fist. At this point, he already couldn't consider how many more dance stage outbursts he could make. As soon as Lu Qing completed his force concentration, Han Zhifei had already punched out his right fist. His muscles instantly propped up his martial arts suit and turned into a strong and powerful serpent. They rapidly rubbed against the air, creating a long and drawn-out sound like a dragon's roar. Lu Cheng's eyes blurred. He instinctively stimulated his qi and blood, spurting out the strength of the dance stage. He raised both hands to block his opponent's fist. Puff! He only felt that the area of contact was as soft as water, forming a strange contrast with the strength of the fist, canceling out his own block. After a short moment, the soft force turned to hard, and the strong force violently arrived. The void fist technique, combining strength and softness. Bang! Lu Qing was forced to take 2 steps back by this fist, leaving 2 footprints full of cracks. He lost his center of gravity. As a last resort, he could only make double explosion. He stabilized his stance, but his thoughts were almost blurred. Han Zhifei saw the dawn of victory. Without hesitation, he made another force concentration. His body swelled, and he fiercely struck from the side. Bang! Lu Qing barely blocked the attack, but his 2-arm stance was broken. His chest and abdomen were wide open. His reaction seemed to have become sluggish, and he was so sleepy that he wanted to collapse on the spot. Han Zhifei's body was also exhausted. He couldn't complete triple explosion, but how could he let go of this opportunity? He clenched his teeth, wriggled his muscles, and stepped forward. He shook his right arm and blasted out the strength of the void fist. He didn't hesitate to use up all his energy. Victory or defeat was at this moment. Everyone could see the change in the situation. They all held their breaths, either waiting or praying. Seeing that it was too late to block, Lu Qing did something he had thought about for a long time, but had never used in actual combat. When you're sleepy, how do you temporarily wake up your spirit? Wash your face with cold water and wake up. That's a common answer. Therefore, Lu Qing operated his power of frost. He let the cold flow condense and rush to his head, rushing to his face, and floating to the surface. The cold stimulated his body's protective mechanism and secreted hormones. He suddenly woke up, and his thoughts seemed to return to normal. This was probably a method to squeeze out one's potential, right? Lu Qing took advantage of this short period of mental stimulation to lower his waist and sit down. He condensed his blood and tensed his muscles. The referee next to him raised his eyebrows. Puff! Han Jifei hit Lu Cheng's chest, but it was as if he hit a piece of rotten wood. Then Lu Cheng's qi and blood burst out. His muscles swelled one by one, setting off a violent impact, creating a terrifying shock. Boom! Han Jifei's body jumped. His qi and blood surged, and his head was dizzy. Lu Cheng, relying on his instinctive punching and kicking kung fu, flicked his arm and used his fist as a sword to poke his opponent's neck. Then, he felt his attack being blocked. At this moment, Lu Cheng's spirit was extremely exhausted. He couldn't think about what was going on. His vision went black, and he almost fainted in the ring. The referee reached out to support him. He also withdrew the palm that blocked his fist. He secretly exhaled, raised his right hand, and announced in a clear voice, "The final, Lu Qing wins." Chapter 277. The final, Lu Qing wins. Lu Qing vaguely heard the voice coming from the sky. It took him a while to understand what it meant. I won. Did I defeat Han Jifei with the last blow? Am I still in the arena? One thought after another floated in his mind. He finally broke free from that grayish-white feeling. He could clearly see Han Jifei in front of him, who was gasping for breath. He could clearly see the two cracked footprints below and behind him. He could clearly see the wide ring around him. He could clearly see the familiar yet strange referee at the side. Noticing his gaze, the referee smiled amiably. Are you okay? No, I'm okay. Lu Qing felt his brain was completely numb. His thoughts were as muddled as porridge, which made his lungs and throat lose control. It became a little difficult to breathe, and he gasped for breath again and again. His eyelids drooped involuntarily. It seemed that he only needed 1 second to fall asleep. He resisted the urge to snap his fingers and ignited a flame to burn the back of his hand. Lu Cheng's body jumped slightly. He felt the pain stimulate his brain through the nerve conduction. Everything outside the arena came back from the distant place and entered his perception range. He heard the erupting cheers. Champion! Lu Cheng! Champion! Lu Cheng was stunned. He felt joy emerge from the bottom of his heart and mix with exhaustion, reverberating in every corner of his body. I'm really the champion. The champion of the 3rd Provincial Young Warrior Championship competition. At this time, he just wanted to turn around, run out of the arena, rush into the lounge, hug his little fairy, and spin her excitedly. When Han Jifei broke Lu Cheng's stance with his double explosion, Yanjika covered her mouth to prevent herself from sighing with regret. She had been mentally prepared for her boyfriend to lose the game. But until the last moment, she always had hope. She always thought that Qing still had a way and could create a miracle. If he doesn't admit defeat, I won't give up. By the time Lu Qing blocked Han Jifei's winning attack with the whole body as one, and took advantage of the situation to counterattack. In the blink of an eye, he won the match. The girl was stunned at first, but then she jumped up from the sofa. In spite of her delicate and refined image, she couldn't help but repeatedly wave her fists. Her mouth let out an excited shout, "Won! Won! He won!" Her eyes flickered and she suddenly calmed down. Her heart was in her throat because she saw her dear Chang's eyes dimming and his body swaying. He was about to faint, but the referee caught him in time. "What's wrong with him? Are you all right?" Could it be that he had squeezed out his Esper ability and suffered a backlash? Yenjika furrowed her brows and looked worried. Her eyes were full of anxiety. Fortunately, her nervousness didn't last long. Soon, she saw Lu Qing coming back to his senses. He burned himself with the supernatural ability of the lighter, allowing his eyes to regain clarity. But at the same time, his eyes were filled with fatigue. "Idiot!" The girl scolded him in a low voice. She knew that her boyfriend's brain couldn't keep up with his body, and he needed to rely on external stimuli for a short period of time. Why did he choose such a stupid method? Why did he burn himself for no reason? The emotional changes in such a short period of time were so intense that Yenjika actually felt mentally exhausted. She sat down again and let out a sigh of relief. However, her eyes never left the TV screen and that idiot's figure. There was a minute of silence in Lu Chang's fan forum. No one posted anything. Unparalleled Dragon King was the first to come back to his senses. He won. Eternal Nightfall, Brahman, come out and look at God. In the previous discussion, even the two girls didn't think that Lu Qing had much hope of defeating the second seed, Han Jifei, in his current state. My idol actually won. My idol is actually the champion. Why did I say, actually? Brahman said with a crying face emoji. I wasn't firm enough. I was wrong. I repent. Eternal Nightfall, Yen Shaoling replied with a dumbfounded expression. I was stunned just now, I was so scared that I grabbed my wig off. Naive sent a pair of eyes wide open in shock. 1 second I thought Lu Qing was going to lose, and the next second I saw him turn the tables. Bull Demon King expressed his feelings, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. This was different from the battle between Lu Qing and Qiu Lin. At that time, after Lu Qing made a severe warning, he first flew backward, then counterattacked and ran forward, seizing the opportunity to take down his opponent. There was an obvious turnaround in the middle, leaving the audience time to wonder. But just now, the outcome was reversed in just 2 moves. Everyone was stunned, and many people still didn't understand what had happened. Fortunately, I didn't say I was going to run naked this time. All the good names are taken by dogs, said with a relieved and confused expression. Yen Shaoling looked at their communication blankly and suddenly posted another post. Why do I feel like this is a dream? It doesn't seem real at all. My Lu Qing really won the championship. Okamoto's fan, hurry up. Come out. Drive, send seeds, let me feel the reality of the world. Damn, Lingling, you are getting more and more dirty. Okamoto's fan joked. Yen Shaoling rubbed her face, looking at the forum and watching the live broadcast, hoping to get affirmation from the grandpa guest. In the live broadcast room of Xing Province Satellite TV, after a long silence, the host sighed. I'm afraid this is the most unexpected champion in the 3 competitions. Before the competition, and even a few days after, who would have thought that the champion would be Lu Qing? Zhang Fei turned to look at her and sighed silently. Yes, it was like a dream. And the most illogical thing was that Qing had won Yenjika's heart. Qing Chili watched quietly with mixed feelings. There was joy, excitement, inferiority, and the desire to move forward. Why didn't I know that an average-looking boy could be so handsome? Chow Lele looked at the ring and whispered to herself. Then she turned to look at Chi Yunfei and the others. She found that the two little girls were blushing and their eyes were bright. He won. Ching is the champion. Chi Fang pulled her husband's sleeve to make the final confirmation. Lu Jisheng took a deep breath and nodded hard. Champion. There were countless martial artists under the age of 26 in the province, and Cheng was the most powerful one among them. The cheers of the audience had been going on for a long time. The eyes of Lu Cheng's father and mother reddened and they were overwhelmed with emotions. When did we check out? Chi Fang wiped the corner of her eyes and asked. Lu Jisheng felt the waves gradually calming down. He smiled and said, "What? You don't want to go back? Do you want to stay for a few more days? Fatty Guo booked us until noon tomorrow. We can change to another hotel then. Even if Ching is the champion and gets the prize money, we still need to be frugal." No, I want to go back. I want to go back now. Chi Fang's eyes were shining. I want to talk to them. I want to visit my relatives. I want to treat them. Not returning home was like walking in the night. Wu Ting was not as excited as she was in the previous games. Instead, she kept nagging her father, Wu Qinggui, Uncle Wei Renjie and the others. My coach is the champion of the provincial youth tournament. My coach is the champion. Wei Renjie was amused. He looked at Sun Yixing and Chu Weikai and asked with a sigh, "You don't have any problem with Qing coaching the preliminaries, right?" "No. Why would we?" Chu Weikai answered with a smile. Sun Yixing also shook his head. "No, it's an honor." To be honest, when he first heard that he was going to be specially trained by this young martial artist who was a few years younger than him, he had some resistance in his heart. But now, to be taught by the #1 young martial artist in the province was an honor. It was a matter of face. In the living room of the Liu family. "Did you win?" Liu Debong suddenly stood up and asked Liu Yanwei. "Yes." Liu Yanwei nodded happily. "Champion?" Liu Debong added. "Champion." Liu Yanwei answered excitedly. "Ha ha ha." Liu Debong laughed heartily. "Ancestors bless us. Ancestors bless us. When Qing comes back, we'll go to his grave." While talking, he picked up the phone again and dialed a number. The champion of the provincial youth tournament. How honorable. Wang Lili looked at Lu Jiqiang and said, gnashing her teeth. Lu Jiqiang muttered, "Why are you so excited?" "He's not our son." He stopped talking and looked at Liu Yanwei instinctively. Liu Yanwei responded with a bitter smile. He recognized his own mediocrity and longed for an extraordinary life. He still couldn't find a way out. How painful, senior brother Zhou. Did you watch the competition? Yi Yaoding sent a message to Zhou Xingquan after a few minutes of silence. Zhou Xingquan replied quickly. Yes. I didn't expect to be overtaken by him so soon. How long has it been since the victory in May? Some people really make you lose your temper to compare. Well, you can go and rest for a while. The award ceremony is in half an hour. Don't forget, or you won't get the money. The referee, Yin Huoming, reminded them with a smile. Okay, thank you, Liu Yanwei replied politely. Enduring the pain in his head, he walked to Han Jifei and held out his right hand. Han Jifei had stopped breathing and looked at him quietly for a few seconds. Then he also held out his hand and high-fived Liu Yanwei. Click. The camera flashed, recording this moment. Although I don't know how you lost, you did lose. There's no excuse for it. Congratulations, you deserve the title. Han Jifei said sincerely. Lu Yanwei didn't hide. He smiled and said, I used my supernatural ability to stimulate myself at the end. I squeezed out my potential and overdrew my spirit. I guess I'll be weak for a few days. I'm afraid it's more than that, I see. Han Zhifei was completely relieved. He shook his head, turned around, and walked to the stone steps. He walked slowly because of the sore muscles all over his body. Lu Yanwei walked down the arena in another direction. Although he was strong, he still walked unsteadily and even slightly askew. Hello, Lu Yanwei. Congratulations on winning the championship and becoming the strongest young fighter in our province. Wu Wei appeared and stopped the big winner of the competition, the Demon King. No matter how Lu Yanwei developed, he could be recorded in the history of martial arts development in this province with this championship alone. Thank you. Lu Yanwei smiled and said, enduring the pain and impatience. At this time, I just want to see Ku, talk to her, and celebrate with her. I can see that you're very tired. I'll ask you 3 questions. Wu Wei smiled dutifully. Can you share with us how you feel about winning the championship? I'm very happy and excited. But I'm too tired to show it. I can only feel happy in my heart. Lu Yanwei took a breath and said in a humorous tone, as for my feelings, I'm grateful to every opponent for giving me different and difficult training. I'm grateful to my parents for supporting my willfulness and indulging me to walk on the road of martial arts. I'm also grateful to my friends for giving me great encouragement. But I'd like to thank my coach more. Without him, I might never have become what I am now. His words had a double meaning. Wu Wei had interviewed the Sage Hall several times, so she was familiar with Han Zhifei. First question, what do you think of Lu Qing winning the championship? He deserves it. Han Zhifei lowered his eyes and said, he was able to defeat so many strong players and win the championship. Whether it was luck or not, or whether it was because we didn't know him well enough, it is enough to show that he is very strong. He definitely deserves the title of champion of the youth tournament. More importantly, he is still very young. His growth rate is still amazing. Wu Wei sighed and added, second question, can you talk about your current mood? Loss, regret, pain. But the youth tournament is not the only thing on the road of martial arts. Life has to go on, and the road of martial arts has to go on. I will adjust my mood as soon as possible to face the 3rd stage of the preliminaries. Han Zhifei exhaled with a slightly fluctuating expression. Then we look forward to you winning glory for Xing Province. Wu Wei nodded and said, 3rd question, what do you think of your nickname? In the last recording, my nickname was Evil Ghost General. I hope it's not as bad as this. Han Zhifei complained, which was rare for him. Taking back his phone, Lu Qing raised his hand to the stands and applauded. Then he quickly walked back to the lounge and opened the door. He saw Yenjika, whose cheeks were flushed and her eyes were bright. The girl pouted and said, why did you want to stimulate your brain with the supernatural ability of frost? The brain is very fragile and delicate. Even mighty ones with physical invulnerability don't dare to touch it too much. What if you make yourself stupid? You are already stupid enough. At this point, she couldn't help but laugh out loud. She glanced at Lu Qing and said with a mixture of shyness and happiness, welcome back, my champion Qing. Don't you want to show your appreciation? Lu Qing seemed to have forgotten the pain in his head and said with a smirk. Am I flirting with my little fairy with my life? Humph, what do you want to show your appreciation? Why don't you take a hot bath and relax, you stinky Qing? Yenjika walked to him and helped him to the bathroom. Lu Qing tried to explain, I didn't stimulate my brain just now. I only stimulated the surface of my skin. Yenjika was about to say something when she suddenly paused and patted her forehead. You've overdrawn your potential. It's not good to take a hot bath to relax. It's easy to cause problems. You have to recover naturally first. Sit down, I'll massage your temples. No, your chest was hit by Han Jifei. I have to apply ointment and rub the wound for you to avoid any hidden dangers. She stepped back in annoyance and raised her hand like a primary school student. Let me think about what to do first. It's a bit messy. She was too excited and concerned. While she was thinking, she suddenly found that the surroundings had become quiet. She raised her head subconsciously and saw Lu Qing staring at her quietly. His eyes were deep and his smile was obvious. Their eyes met. Lu Qing reached out, grabbed Yenjika's wrist, and pulled her to him. After a while, the girl pushed Lu Qing away and brushed her scattered hair. She turned her head and lowered her eyes. Sit down and take off your clothes. Okay. Lu Qing looked at her with a smile, stepped back, and sat on the sofa. He took off his shirt, revealing his sweaty chest and the red and black wounds. Although he had dispersed the force of the virtual punch with the force concentration, the muscles on his chest were not as strong as his hands and feet, so there was still a hard wound. Yenjika subconsciously glanced at it and felt shy again. She quickly found the ointment, squatted down, dug out a piece, and rubbed it hard. Lu Qing, who was in pain and happiness, saw the expression on his little fairy's face and said with a smirk, "Are you thinking of the half-naked picture I posted last time? What do you think? My body is good, right? Rogue. Super cheeky." Yenjika was shy and anxious. She scolded him but didn't increase the strength of her hands. Lu Qing knew when to stop and didn't say anything more. He closed his eyes and began to rest. There were only 20 minutes left before he had to attend the award ceremony. After a while, Yenjika finished applying the ointment. She stood up and sat on the sofa, pretending to be bold. "Come, lie on my lap. I'll massage your temples to make you feel more relaxed before taking a shower. You'll be squashed." Lu Qing didn't want to. "I'm going to be a professional ninth pin girl in the second half of the year. Come on." Yenjika patted her thighs, but her eyes shyly looked to the side. Okay. Lu Qing happily lay down and used her thighs as a pillow to make it easier for her to massage. Lu Qing felt comfortable. He was surrounded by a familiar and attractive fragrance. His heart gradually calmed down and his tense mind started to relax. "Could sing me a song, the quiet kind." Lu Qing closed his eyes and said dreamily. Yenjika looked at him with a smile. She thought for a while and hummed in a low voice, "When you're old, your hair is white, and you're sleepy. When you're old, you can't walk anymore, and you're napping by the fire, reminiscing your youth. When you're old, your eyes droop, and the light is dim. When I'm old, I really hope this song is for you." Lu Cheng's thoughts drifted in his ears. His heart was filled with peace and joy. Chapter 278. In the conference room of the TV station, the leader leaned forward with his hands on the table and roared at the people, "The finals are over and you still haven't thought of a nickname? Do you still want to make a show?" The loud noise and splashing saliva made the young man shrink his neck. He raised his hand weakly and said, I have." "Then why don't you say it?" The leader glared at him and roared. "The meeting has just started. I haven't had time to say anything." The young man complained in his mind but didn't dare to complain. He said honestly, "Since we have decided on the 4 heavenly sons, why don't we choose some mythical creatures as nicknames? They can correspond to each other and be ranked according to their strength." The leader thought for a while and said, "Okay. What nickname do you think we should give Lu Qing?" The young man was prepared and blurted out, "Sky-shaking roar." The woman with half-rimmed glasses glanced at him silently and then lowered her head, pretending to write in her notebook. The others had different expressions, but most of them were trying to hold back their laughter. "Sky-shaking roar. The leader frowned seriously and expressed his doubt with different tones and tones. Sky-shaking roar contains the meaning of Lu Cheng's tremor punch and his strength in the youth tournament. I think it's quite suitable, right? The young man was full of confidence, but the more he spoke, the more nervous he became. The leader nodded slightly and said, "Okay, you made a pun on one word. But why did you use roar instead of roar?" Lu Cheng has mastered the ice sect force and the corresponding simplified physical invulnerability moves. Isn't ice roar more suitable? Roar. Roar. Roar doesn't match with sky-shaking roar. It doesn't feel strong. And didn't Lu Cheng roar when he defeated Zhang Zhutong in the semifinals? The young man tried to explain. Sky-shaking roar then. We can't waste any more time. The leader made the final decision. Since Lu Cheng has made up his mind, I've also thought of the others. Listen and see what you think. Han Jifei, Rock of the Void, Zhang Zhutong, Wind-Fire Dragon, Lu Xuanjin, Formless Eagle. What do you think? Any opinions? The young man and the woman with half-rimmed glasses looked at each other and said in unison, "No." Is there really nothing? I just thought of it casually. I feel that there should be some flaws. The leader said humbly. Not really. I think it's better than the previous 2 years, the woman with the half-rimmed glasses answered sincerely. At the very least, it wasn't that bad, and it wasn't that weird. It was just that this seemed more like the nickname of a mountain king, like the nickname of a passerby. A, B, C, D, yes, it's good that he has improved. The leader was overjoyed and waved his hand. Then it settled. The gentle and mellow voice reverberated in the room for a long time. Lu Cheng fell asleep unknowingly. His body and mind relaxed. He seemed to have several dreams in a daze until Yan Zhiko woke him up. He saw the chandelier bursting with light. The award ceremony is starting in a few minutes. Go and take a hot shower. Yan Zhiko said with a smile. Actually, it's okay if you don't take a shower. Let's stink them to death. The short sleep made Lu Cheng feel even more tired. He wanted to ignore everything else, close his eyes, turn over, hug his little fairy, and go back to sleep. But his head was not as empty as before. He forced himself to sit up with perverted willpower and instinctively rubbed the girl's thigh to relieve her discomfort of being pressed down for more than 20 minutes. At the same time, he said with a smile, then tomorrow I will have the nickname Ji Gong. The real notoriety will spread far and wide. Pfft, notoriety. Yenjika was amused, but her eyes were looking at her boyfriend tenderly. Out of habit, she gave him a gentle push. Then why don't you go and take a shower? Lu Cheng didn't hesitate. He jumped back and stood up. He rummaged for a change of boxers and martial arts suit and entered the bathroom. Yenjika picked up the phone in silent mode and browsed the news that she had no time to read. Gu Shuang suggested excitedly, "Cuckoo, has your man recovered? Let's go to Happy tonight. Let's have a celebration with him. He's the champion of the provincial youth fighters." Yenjika pursed her lips and smiled, her hands quickly typing on the keyboard on the screen. He's recovered, but he has to go to bed early and get up early. How can he be a night owl? He has to continue his morning exercises tomorrow. Me too. After typing this sentence, she did not send it out. Instead, she left it there as a draft. When Lu Cheng came out of the bathroom after a quick shower, she looked at her boyfriend drying his hair with a towel and asked with dimples, "Gu Shuang suggested a party to celebrate your youth tournament champion. Do you want to go? Do you want me to go?" Lu Cheng asked with a smile. Yenjika smiled and said, "I'm fine with anything. It's up to you." "Then forget it. I'm very tired and need to go to bed on time. I can't delay tomorrow's morning exercises, Lu Qing resisted the temptation of a party and said in a soft voice but determined voice. The championship was short, but the practice was long. Yenjika smiled and looked at Lu Qing happily. Then she lowered her head and pressed the send button, replying to Gu Shuang with the draft she had written earlier. I knew Qing would give such an answer. It's not telepathy, but the tacit understanding and understanding built up over time. Of course, even if I knew he would give such an answer, I wouldn't make the decision for him. I should ask him about it. This is basic respect. I'll just type a reply for him in advance to save time. What's wrong? Lu Qing was surprised by the girl's reaction and added, in fact, I don't think you want to go either. Your most urgent wish now is to become a professional ninth pin fighter. How can you be willing to waste a day of morning exercises? Yenjika turned her eyes and raised her head. When she was about to say something, she heard a knock on the door. Mr. Lu Qing, the award ceremony is about to begin. You can get ready to enter. Fong Siki reminded him. Okay. Lu Qing answered loudly. Then he looked at the girl and asked quickly, how about sleeping at my place tonight? Let's do morning exercises together tomorrow. I don't want to do anything bad. It's just that my head is still throbbing and I want my little fairy to give me a massage. Yenjika suddenly thought of the joke Dirty Tong once told about men swearing to do nothing. She felt shy and glanced at Lu Qing. Then she said with a smile, it's a pity that my parents are here in Gaofun. They're watching the game outside. I have to go and greet them tonight. We're not traveling together. Why do you want me to sleep with you all the time? Okay. Lu Qing sighed with a wry smile. He deeply understood the ability of Empress Dowager to appear at the critical moment. Seeing his reaction, Yenjika pursed her lips and snorted. But I can ask you out for a date tomorrow. Okay. Lu Qing cheered up, opened the door, and walked out of the lounge. Yenjika watched his back disappear before she picked up her phone and saw Gu Shuang's exclamation, he's played 2 matches tonight, and it's the happy moment of winning the championship. Why isn't he relaxing? He still wants to get up early and do morning exercises tomorrow. I can't be friends with him. What a pervert. Yenjika smiled and put her phone back. She waited until everyone's attention was on the arena before she quietly left the lounge. She walked around and returned to her original position along the aisle. As soon as Lu Qing walked out, he heard waves of high-pitched trumpets and banging of inflatable hammers. The atmosphere was very lively. He walked forward slowly and waved to all directions. The atmosphere became even more lively, turning it into a pot of boiling porridge. In such an environment, he stepped into the ring and saw Han Jifei, whose left rib was obviously wrapped in a bandage. He saw Zhang Zhutong, who had regained his vigor. He saw Lu Xuanjun, who was a teenager with striking white skin. He also saw the referee of the previous match, who had changed into a smart white martial arts suit. Next, Mr. Yin Huoming, the chairman of the Martial Artist Association of Xing Province, and the provincial government, will present the prizes to the top 4 of this year's youth tournament. A loud voice came from the broadcast. Following the announcement, the hostess brought 4 crystal trophies to the arena. In the center of the tray was the symbol of the champion's fist. At this time, he felt his wife Qi Fang turn over and heard her mumbling in her sleep, Qing won the championship, won the championship. Chapter 279. The next morning, Gu Shuang was woken up by the sound of Xing Jingjing getting up to train. She picked up her phone in a daze and glanced at the time. She grumbled, it's only 7:00. Sister Jingjing, I don't want to sleep in the same bed as you anymore. Poor me. Why do I have a group of girlfriends who don't like to sleep in? Xing Jingjing answered calmly, who went to the morning exercise at 5:30. Inhuman. You're all inhuman. Gu Shuang wailed. She browsed the news on Weibo and other portals and saw a local news report. The rise of a martial arts supernova. Gu Shuang suddenly felt refreshed. She swiped and entered the content interface. She glanced at the source of the news and found it was today's provincial newspaper. She moved her eyes down and read the content. At the age of 19, he has achieved the dance stage and reached the professional 8th pin. He has only been practicing martial arts for a year, and he is already the champion of the youth fighter competition in Xing province. All these dazzling halos and beautiful words together form a young genius who is not much inferior to Ping Liyun and Ren Li. He is Lu Cheng, from Shushan City, a sophomore at Songqing University. Our province has been yearning for such an exciting martial arts genius for many, many years. The road of martial arts is long. How far will this supernova go? What kind of brilliance will he emit? Let's wait and see. Wow! Gu Shuang was enraptured. She diligently downloaded the electronic version of the provincial newspaper and saved it. Then she sent the picture and link to her girlfriends. Cuckoo, look at your man. The second page of the provincial newspaper. The local news focus of the portal. Gain face. Gain face. The coolness of the morning faded away. The scorching sun took over the earth, sprinkling golden light on the ground. Lu Qing and Yanjika smiled at each other and ended their training at the same time. Yanjika took out her phone to see if there was any important news or call. She asked with concern, "How are you feeling? Does your head still hurt?" Cheng said he didn't sleep well last night. It was like he couldn't sleep because he was too tired and couldn't meditate. Therefore, he closed his eyes and didn't fall asleep until around 2 o'clock. The throbbing pain in his head was still there. Much better. After standing still for half an hour, I feel alive again. Lu Qing replied with a smile, "I guess it's because I couldn't sleep last night without my little fairy massaging my temples." Finally, he could conceal his spirit and chi again. "So you're blaming me?" Yanjika glared at her boyfriend and lowered her eyes again. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. Cheng, you're on the news." The second page of the provincial daily. The local news focus of the portal website. She repeated Gu Shuang's words. "What is it?" Lu Qing leaned over and wrapped his arm around her waist. They started reading the news together. Yanjika held back her laughter as she watched the news. She felt both proud and a little embarrassed because the highly praised protagonist in the news was right beside her. The writing is not bad, but the photo is not good. "You're not even 1/10,000th as handsome as our Qing." The girl's eyes were like crescent moons, and her lips curved into a smile. "Hey, you're getting more and more exaggerated." Lu Qing couldn't help laughing. Yanjika pursed her lips and said with a smile, "As your life mentor, I can't be caught up by you in any aspect. Besides, after I get used to it, I find you much more pleasing to the eye than those handsome guys. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder." Lu Qing concluded with satisfaction. Bah! Yanjika's cheeks were slightly red, and she turned her head to look aside. Then she thought of something and turned back. With bright eyes and a smile, she shouted, "Hello, Beauty Lu. What kind of idea is that?" Lu Qing wiped his sweat with a smile. Then he remembered to check his phone and unexpectedly found a message from a stranger. "Hello, Mr. Lu Qing. I'm Little Zhao from Xing Province Satellite TV. Are you free today or tomorrow? Can you spare 1 or 2 hours to participate in the special program of Xing Province martial artists? You're going to record this program. I'm looking forward to your nickname." Yanjika also came over and said with a smile. Lu Qing smelled the girl's slightly sweaty fragrance and glanced at her. "Why do you look like you're gloating?" "No, it's just that." Yanjika laughed in a low voice. I've always felt that the fact that those people in charge of recording nicknames were not killed or injured can be used to prove the self-restraint and demeanor of our province's martial artists. Are you implying that my nickname will be very strange and unique? Lu Qing obviously understood the meaning of his girlfriend's words. Ha ha. Yenjika laughed and then praised, "You know me better now. We're going on a date today. How about tomorrow?" Lu Qing asked for his fairy's opinion. Yenjika pursed her lips and smiled. "How about today? I'm looking forward to that nickname. Besides, if we keep delaying it, we won't be able to have a proper date." "You're right. I'll go there in the morning and have a date in the afternoon. It's so hot today. Where should we go?" "The water amusement park," Lu Qing suggested. "Next time. I didn't bring a swimsuit." Yenjika hesitated. Although she could directly go to the mall to buy one later, she still felt a little embarrassed to wear a swimsuit in front of Qing. She felt unprepared. Before Lu Qing said anything, she added, "Let's play board games. I want to show you what IQ is like. Let's have dinner with Shuang Shuang and Sister Jingjing tonight. Well, there's probably a post-match dinner for the youth tournament. Let's do it tomorrow." After discussing the arrangement, Lu Qing replied to little Zhao from the TV station. "Can I come over at 9:30 in the morning?" "Sure, I'll pick you up at the door. This is my phone number." "Sorry to trouble you, Mr. Lu Qing." Little Zhao replied quickly. Looking at Lu Cheng's serious expression, Yenjika suddenly burst into laughter. "Actually, what I want most now is to bring my textbooks and find a place to study with you. It doesn't matter whether there's air conditioning or not. Anyway, I have a walking air conditioner. We can do that when we go back to Shushan. Well, can you come to my house? I haven't shown you my old photo album. My parents won't be home during the day except for mealtimes." Lu Qing proposed happily. Yenjika thought for a while and couldn't help but ask curiously, "Okay. What would Qing be like when he was young? What would he be like in the past? What would the bed he slept on and the home he lived in for so many years be like?" After making an appointment with Yenjika, Lu Qing first dropped her off outside the house of his father-in-law and mother-in-law in Gaofun. Then he took a taxi to Xing Province Satellite TV. On the way, he received a message from the bank. 600,000 yuan of after-tax bonus had been transferred to his account. Lu Qing couldn't help but count the zeros several times. He couldn't hide his joy. This was the largest amount of money he had ever seen. His savings in the past were less than 1/10 of this amount. After becoming a professional 8th pin fighter and entering the martial arts circle, he was indeed different from before. His income was increasing rapidly. Lu Qing had received a coaching salary of 20,000 yuan at the end of July. Adding the 10,000 yuan before, the 9,000 yuan security fee given by Director Xing, and the 9,000 yuan for individual coaching, he had a little more than 21,000 yuan left. After deducting the consumption of medicine, dating expenses, buying small things for Ko from time to time, and his own spending on food, he had a little more than 54,000 yuan left, which was indeed less than 1/10 of 600,000 yuan. Well, what gift should I buy for Ko? What should I buy for my parents? I should also buy something for Fei Fei and the other two girls. Well, I have to ask my life coach, Coach Yen, about this. My house has only 2 bedrooms and 1 living room. It's getting more and more inconvenient. Also, it's getting old. Should I buy a bigger house? As for myself, I'll be satisfied with a better computer. Of course, he couldn't spend too much. There were very few competitions that were suitable for him and had such generous prizes. They were usually held once every few years. After reaching the Dan stage, he would often need the assistance of medicinal soups and elixirs. Furthermore, dating was something that would last forever. While thinking about the future and the pleasure of spending money, Lu Qing arrived at the entrance of the TV station and saw a young man with messy hair waiting there. Seeing Lu Qing, the young man with messy hair raised his phone and waved, "Mr. Lu Qing, I'm little Zhao." "Hello," Lu Qing responded politely. Little Zhao glanced at him and said, "We don't have much time. Come with me to do your makeup first." "Okay." Lu Qing knew nothing about the program recording process, so he didn't raise any objections. In the makeup room, when he was being powdered, he finally remembered what his girlfriend was concerned about. He raised his voice and asked little Zhao, "Hello, can I ask you about my nickname in the Book of Generals?" "Hee, I want to be mentally prepared so that I won't make any mistakes during the program recording." The young man with messy hair, little Zhao, swallowed hard. Yes, your nickname is, our leader gave you, Sky Shaking Roar." "Aw. Sky Shaking Roar." Lu Qing was confused at first, but then he instinctively raised his voice and asked. Little Zhao's legs went soft, and he almost lost his footing. He supported himself with one hand on the wall and said, "Yes, the heaven shaking that shook the world, and the hoe of the golden fur hoe. I feel, it's quite powerful." "Yes, it's quite powerful." Lu Qing didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Isn't the TV station people's aesthetic sense too strange? Although it's much better than the previous two nicknames. For a moment, he wanted to go in and out of the TV station 7 times. After finishing his makeup, he lowered his head and sent his nickname to Yenjika. He said with a blank expression, "Sky Shaking Roar." After waiting for a minute, Yenjika replied, "Ha, I laughed until my stomach hurts. Ha, when I saw this nickname, the image of a husky howling to the moon flashed in my mind. Sky Shaking Roar. Ha, laugh as much as you want." Lu Qing sent an emoji of helplessly covering his face. The young man with messy hair, little Zhao, was frightened. He said carefully, "You can go to the studio now." Chapter 280. After sizing up the legendary studio, Lu Qing's eyes swept over the lights and the staff, and finally fell on the hostess of the program. She stood between the two opposite sofas, wearing a white shirt and a black dress. Her legs were beautiful, but they were as thin as sticks. Lu Qing always had the illusion that they would be blown off by the wind. He couldn't bear to look at her directly, just like his reaction when he saw a car accident on the road. This female host was one of the TV celebrities in the province that he was quite familiar with. He often saw her when he accompanied his parents to watch the programs. More importantly, she was also in charge of the previous young martial artist call-in recording. He had watched several episodes back then and had a good impression of this beautiful and intellectual host. Wei Ye, who began to appear on the stage of Xing Province satellite TV 5 years ago, gradually gained fame and gradually took on some important programs. As for her specific age, he didn't pay attention to it. He only knew that in the past year, she had appeared frequently and seemed to have a high status in the TV station. Curious about celebrities, Lu Qing didn't hide his eyes. He found that Wei Ye's image today was completely different from when she debuted. Her waistcoat long hair was coiled into a high bun, and her face was painted with delicate makeup, deliberately highlighting the intellectual side of her. She walked a mature but not old-fashioned style. She looks better in person than on screen, but still not as good as Ku. Lu Qing thought and smiled, recalling Yenjika's frown and smile. My little fairy is so perfect. Of course, this could be caused by his mentality that beauty was in the eye of the beholder. Aware of his gaze, Wei Ye turned her head and followed his line of sight. Their eyes met. Lu Qing smiled slightly and nodded to greet her in a manner that was neither servile nor overbearing. Wei Ye was stunned at first, and then recognized that he was today's guest. She gently nodded as a response, and then continued to communicate with the assistant. Mr. Lu Qing, this is the outline of today's interview. Please take a look and have a rough idea in mind. You don't need to memorize, just have a preliminary draft. It will be more realistic if you make a little slip of the tongue or stutter. Little Zhao, the young man with the chicken nest hair, handed over a few pages and smiled flatteringly. In short, you can do whatever you want. Just make sure what you want to say and what you don't want to say. Thank you. Lu Qing took the outline of the interview. As he browsed through it, he allowed the staff to tie a black box-shaped loudspeaker to his pants and cover it with his clothes. The wires ran from the inside to the collar and connected to the collar microphone. After a few more reminders, Lu Qing turned off his phone and stood at the stage, listening to the director instructing the crew. After a few minutes, Wei Yi stood up from the sofa, faced the camera, and elegantly introduced the youth tournament. This time, we'll call the top 4 Heavenly Sons. They're the Heavenly Sons with boundless prospects. Let's welcome the champion of this tournament, the 19-year-old genius fighter, sky-shaking roar Lu Qing. Even though Lu Qing had already known the nickname in advance, he still didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he heard the name, Lu Qing, the heaven-shaking mantis. His body still shook once, twice, thrice, slightly, and heavily. Who the f***ck are these people? He cursed in his heart as he walked up the stairs to where the 2 sofas were. Lu Qing, is this the first time you've participated in this kind of program? Wei Yi gently led the rookie. Yes. Lu Qing tried his best to look calm and behave calmly. This was a program that could be watched by thousands of households. If he made a mistake, he would definitely be laughed at by Ko for a lifetime. When I'm old, my dark history will also be mentioned next to the stove, Wei Yi laughed in a low voice. Then you should first say hello to the audience in front of the TV. Hello, everyone. Lu Qing bowed to the camera. After finishing the process, everyone sat down. Wei Yi put her legs on the side, showing the elegance of a mature woman. She laughed and said, Lu Qing, I'll call you Lu Qing. You're still a student. You've entered the dance stage in less than a year and become the leader of the young fighters in a province. It's really a legendary experience. I'm curious. Have you really never been in touch with martial arts before college? Of course I've been in touch with it. Considering the popularity of modern martial arts, if I really haven't been in touch with it, I'd have to be isolated from the world. Lu Qing answered with a smile, trying to make his words sound humorous. But this kind of contact is limited to the theory on paper. For example, watching the competition, talking about the strong, collecting relevant information, and specific practice of martial arts. Does the physical education class count? Most likely not, Wei Yi replied with a smile. Since you haven't been in touch with the practice of martial arts in the past 18 years, why did you want to join the martial arts club as soon as you entered college? I've always been very passionate about martial arts. My house is full of posters of several physical and vulnerability mighty ones. But I didn't pass the selection before and felt that there was no hope for me to go on this road. So I concentrated on studying and worked hard for the exam. Lu Qing smiled slightly. Wei Yi suddenly said, so, after going to college, the pressure of studying was reduced and you had more free time. It was not easy to stop, you are much funnier than you look. It wasn't like this in the past. Once a person has the foundation, they may be more confident. Plus, with the guidance of good teachers and helpful friends around them, by example, they can communicate more freely with others. Lu Qing spoke frankly with assurance. The following interview was quite smooth. Lu Qing was not witty, but he showed his own style and shared some of his martial arts experience and interesting stories that could be spread. When the interview was over, Wei Yi stood up and reached out to shake hands with Lu Qing. She smiled and praised, you did a good job. At your age, It's really good to be able to do such a good job in your first interview. Thank you, it's your good guidance. Lu Qing said modestly. After chatting for a while, the staff took back the caller microphone and loudspeaker. Lu Qing turned around and walked out of the studio while turning on his camera. He did not look at the famous anchor again. Wei Yi didn't feel anything about this. She had interviewed so many people. Naturally, she had encountered men of various styles. Some were shy enough to ask for her phone number, some were always looking at her sensitive parts, some had a hobby of collecting female stars, some were arrogant and strong enough to completely ignore her, and some were frank and generous, but only polite. Out of the studio, Lu Qing saw that there were many missed calls and unread messages on his phone. He called back one by one according to the degree of closeness. First, he called his mother. He heard that they had checked out and were ready to go back to Shushan. She also told him to go home as soon as possible after the activity. Then, he called Fatty Jiang. He said that Chiu Hailin and Chao Lele had been out for too long this time, and they were a little worried about them. Therefore, they checked out at noon and would pick up his uncle and auntie on the way. Then, he called Qin Rui. He asked if he would like to go back with the bus. For a moment, Lu Qing thought of the saying, all good things must come to an end. He sighed with a smile and told everyone that he would stay for 1 or 2 more days. As for the other messages, most of them were congratulatory messages. At this time, a new call came in. Lu Qing picked it up and heard a polite female voice. Hello, Mr. Lu Qing. There will be a celebration reception for the youth tournament at 7 o'clock tonight. You are the champion. I hope you can take the time to attend. The invitation card has been sent to the front desk of your hotel. Okay, I'll attend. Lu Qing had just taken 600,000 yuan from her, so he was willing to cooperate. Besides, he was not the kind of person who put on airs. If you respect me, I'll respect you tenfold. After hanging up the phone, he suddenly remembered that at the pre-match reception, he had watched Zhang Zhutong climb up the stairs under the illumination of various cameras as an onlooker. Life is full of ups and downs. Lu Qing complained. Then he sent a message to Yenjika, saying that he was done and would pick her up soon. While waiting for her reply, his phone rang again. It was a familiar number. Master. Lu Qing was startled and inexplicably frightened. Usually, I'm the one who calls. Why is Master calling me today? Didn't I already tell him the good news last night? Hello, Master. Lu Qing answered the call carefully, as if he was holding a bomb in his hand. Geezer coughed and said, Brat, you're getting more and more famous. Take a few days off and come to Wiyue. I have to introduce you to your sect. Damn, my original idea was that this brat should have reached professional 8th pin by the end of the summer vacation. I would teach him for half a year and wait for his strength to stabilize. Then, I would bring him to meet my fellow disciples and formally acknowledge him as my master. But in the end, not only did he step into the Dan stage within a month, but he also won the youth tournament. His reputation spread like wildfire, and I received several questioning calls in the morning. Recognize my sect and meet my fellow disciples? Lu Qing suddenly felt nervous. Chapter 281. Lu Qing was a little nervous because of the unfamiliar sect and fellow sect members. He picked up Yan Jike and went to an old restaurant where they had reserved a place. This restaurant specialized in yellow beef, steaming, frying, roasting, stewing and so on. After ordering the dishes, the girl took out a packet of tissues from her orange bag and handed it to her boyfriend. Wipe your face. What's this? Lu Qing took it with a confused look. Makeup remover wipes. Didn't you put on makeup for the program? Yenjika replied with a smile. Makeup remover wipes. I've never heard of it. Lu Qing said with embarrassment. Yenjike tilted her head slightly and laughed. Idiot, you should know what it's for from the name. It's easy to use. Just wipe it on your face until there's no more yellow stuff. Then you'll be clean. But I washed my face after the program. Lu Qing was half confused and half defending himself. Yenjike chuckled. I knew you would say that. A lot of cosmetics can't be washed off with water. Why else do you think girls would prepare makeup remover lotion and oil? With your control over your skin and your sensing ability, don't you feel uncomfortable on your face? So that's why. I was wondering why I didn't feel fresh enough. I thought it was because I showered in a hurry. I was thinking of taking a good shower before the banquet. Lu Qing was enlightened. If it weren't for the fact that the brain was off limits for mighty ones with physical invulnerability, he would have washed his face with the vibration of internal training. While talking, he took out a wet wipe and wiped his face. As expected, a lot of yellow stuff came off. How is it? Did you learn something new? Yenjike raised her head slightly and smiled, showing a bit of complacency. Lu Qing finished and smiled sincerely. Thank you, Coach Yen, no, life coach. You've broadened my horizons again. Yenjike chuckled and sighed suddenly. Cheng, we may not be able to date tomorrow. My parents are going to visit a friend's house, and they have to drag me along. Sigh, I hate this kind of thing. It's fine if we are familiar with each other, but if we only see each other 3 or 4 times a year, it will be very uncomfortable. When they are talking, I have to sit beside them and pretend to listen carefully. Sometimes I have to answer some questions that I don't want to answer. If we meet 1 or 2 naughty kids, it will be indescribable. While talking, she found that Lu Qing was looking at her with a smile. She couldn't help but pout. What are you looking at? Are you disappointed to find out that I have a side that complains about this and that? Nope, I think the complaining cuckoo is super cute. Lu Qing replied with a smile. Then he explained, it feels more real and human. I also feel that the distance between us is closer. Yenjike held back her laughter and rolled her eyes at him. You're talking as if I wasn't a human before. I'm not human anymore. Of course, it's the scent of a fairy. Lu Qing said seriously. Pfft. Yenjike couldn't help but laugh. She curved her lips and turned her head to the side. What should I do? I feel like I've been cheated. When we first started talking last year, I didn't expect you to say something like this. People will grow, especially when they have a competent life mentor. Lu Qing answered without blushing. Yeah, people's skin will become thicker. Yenjike said grumpily. Lu Qing laughed and held the girl's hand. He helped her massage her acupoints and changed the topic. Cuckoo, will you attend the celebration banquet for the youth tournament tonight? He had heard from Ku that Empress Dowager had received an invitation. No. Yenjike shook her head. I'm afraid that someone won't be able to hold himself back and talk to me. My dad will find out. If 2 people in love attended a banquet at the same time, unless they could hold themselves back from contacting each other all the time, it would be easy for others to find out whether it was their words, expressions, or eyes. But could her boyfriend hold himself back from contacting each other all the time? Yenjike held a negative attitude towards the answer because she had no confidence in herself in this matter. Phew. Lu Qing exhaled and said regretfully, I thought I could see you in an evening dress. Pervert. Yenjike rolled her eyes and scolded him with a smile. Actually, I hate this kind of banquet. Although I can dress up beautifully, I have to socialize with a bunch of unfamiliar people. My face will be stiff from smiling. Anyway, it's super boring. I'd rather do a set of test papers. She complained a lot about the boredom of this kind of banquet. She was in high spirits, which made Lu Qing smile gently. When all the dishes were served, Lu Qing remembered to tell the girl what had happened before. In fact, I can't go on a date tomorrow because I won the youth tournament and my reputation has spread. My master asked me to go to Wuyue immediately and formally become his disciple. Formally become his disciple? Yanjika didn't hide her joy and was sincerely happy for her boyfriend. Yes, it's so sudden that I'm a little nervous. I don't know what sect it is and what kind of fellow disciples there will be. Lu Qing frankly shared his feelings, hoping that his girlfriend, who was born in a martial arts family, could provide some experience. Yanjika looked up and pondered for a while before she said, "That's right. Qing, it's natural for you to be nervous. You can't be so stupid to think that your fellow disciples will be good to you, even if your master is a mighty one with physical invulnerability or one of the actual leaders of the sect." What do you mean? Lu Qing didn't know anything about the ecological environment of the sect. Yanjika took back her hand and explained seriously, a sect is a group of interests. Before you appeared, they had formed a stable distribution of interests. But you, as the champion of the youth tournament and a strong professional 8th pin or even 7th pin, will definitely break this balance. It's not that you can get a lot of benefits now, but with the speed of your growth, in the future, who will be the leader and who will be the assistant? What do you think those disciples of the same age as you, who are trained as the next generation of leaders of the sect will think of you? Will they be harmonious and friendly? She recalled the things that Grandpa and Uncle usually discussed and the content in the books and described it in a sharp and cold tone. Stopping people from making money is like killing their parents. Lu Qing thought for a moment and answered with a common saying. Especially since he hadn't practiced martial arts with his fellow disciples since childhood, he had feelings for them. He was considered an outsider, a wild, and a gift from heaven. Anyone would reject, resist, and loathe him. Seeing her boyfriend's serious look, Yanjika smiled and said, "It won't go that far. After all, your master is in charge, so they won't do anything too outrageous. At most, they will find a reason to provoke you. Don't be provoked and always stay on the right side. It'll be fine as long as you don't get provoked." Okay. Lu Qing nodded thoughtfully. Yanjika pursed her lips and said, "Also, don't trust those overly enthusiastic fellow disciples. Actually, you don't need to be afraid of those who come at you openly. What you need to be afraid of are those who play dirty tricks. They will lead you to eat, drink, and have fun and seduce you into depravity. If you really get addicted to something, then it's your own fault. You won't be able to blame them at all. My grandpa had a martial nephew who was crippled in this way. She believed that Qing wouldn't fool around in places like nightclubs, but she was always worried that he wouldn't be able to stand up to others and refuse their kindness." Lu Qing listened in a daze. After a long time, he sighed and said, "Where there are people, there is Jianghu." At 6:50 p.m. Lu Qing, wearing a white martial arts suit with black edges, arrived at the youth tournament celebration reception in high spirits. A long red carpet had been laid out in front of him. There were fans holding banners and cameras everywhere, just like when he had first met Zhang Zhutong. Lu Qing glanced around and found banners and signs with his name on them. He had a new understanding of the crazy number of fans in the forum in the past 2 days. He took a deep breath and walked to the entrance with a faint smile on his face. He walked on the red carpet with his head held high. Click. 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 Flashes lit up one after another and shouts of "Lu Qing" burst out, welcoming the main character of the night. After walking down the red carpet, Lu Qing entered the banquet hall. Before he had time to look around, he saw a meticulous old man with white hair combed horizontally. "I'll call you nephew. Your master and I have been good friends for many years." The old man laughed and said, "Alas, I'm old and forgetful. I haven't introduced myself yet. I used to be the head of the provincial police department, but now I'm retired. I'm just an old man, Shidawe. Hello, Uncle Shi. Sorry for troubling you. Lu Qing followed his master's seniority and greeted him. Back then, regarding Wang Su's matter, Master must have used this clue to find Director Xing step by step. Shidawe laughed and said, "It's just a small matter. Don't mention it all the time. Come, let me introduce you to some seniors." He led Lu Qing to Yin Huaming and introduced him again. This is Xiao Yin, the chairman of the Provincial Martial Artist Association. You can call him Brother Yin, but he's not young anymore. You'd better call him Uncle Yin. You're a martial artist, so don't worry about this. Hello, Uncle Yin. Lu Qing almost burst out laughing. He followed the guidance and called him Uncle Yin. Yin Huaming shook his head with a smile. Martial Uncle Shi, I'm only 10 years younger than you. With this new introduction and Lu Qing calling him Uncle Yin, their relationship was different. Who told your master to accept a disciple at the age of 20? Shidawe laughed and scolded him. Then he introduced Lu Qing to Luo Zhong, the governor in charge of martial arts affairs, Yu Hong, the senior vice principal of the police academy, and the boss of the Divine Fire Club, Gao Jinshi, a 60-year-old fourth pin expert. He introduced the big shots of the Xing province martial arts world to his nephew. Seeing one stranger after another and greeting them with a smile, Lu Qing thoroughly understood the feeling of Yan Jika's face stiffening up when she talked to him. After a round of socializing with the big shots, he slipped to the balcony with the excuse of going to the bathroom. He hid in a corner and complained to his girlfriend. In the end, he said, "This is probably the trouble of being famous. Compared to this kind of banquet, I'd rather study with you in the classroom." Before Yanjika replied, Lu Qing saw a tall man enter the balcony with a glass of red wine. He looked less than 40 years old and was very thin. His eyes hid deep tiredness, but his spirit gave people a feeling of excitement. Lu Qing. The man chuckled and raised his glass. Hello, Lu Qing answered instinctively out of habit. Then he raised his glass of water. I'm Wang Zhou. The man said with a smile, last night there was a rumor in the underworld that someone offered 30 million yuan for your head. Ah. Lu Qing was surprised and confused. Who did I offend? Wang Zhou sipped the wine and said leisurely, the rumor disappeared as soon as it came out. Because no one who can kill you is willing to sacrifice a stable life. There's no need to take risks. After all, we live in a stable and harmonious society. Besides, even if you get the money, you may not be alive to spend it. This is just a small episode. Don't worry too much. It just means that someone doesn't like you very much. How do you know? Lu Qing thought for a while and asked. Wang Zhou gently swirled his wine glass, turned around and left, leaving behind a sentence. My friends in the martial arts world like to call me Master Ba. Master Ba. Master Ba behind the sage hole. No wonder. Lu Qing took a breath and suddenly felt that his life seemed to be a little different after this championship. Will I encounter any problems when I formally become a disciple? In the venue of the banquet, Gu Shuang, in a black evening dress, secretly looked at the balcony and sent a message to Yanjika. Hee, Cuckoo, your man is very honest. He didn't even look at those socialites. Those philatelists are very disappointed. Why do you care about this? Yanjika replied with anger and amusement, by the way, bring me 4 bottles of original proof wine from Ningshui Daku. Cheng has to meet his master tomorrow. He can't go empty-handed. The next day, Lu Qing took his luggage and went to the airport to start his journey. Destination, Wuyue Province. Chapter 282. After checking in the 4 bottles of original proof spirit from Ningshui Daku, Lu Qing carried his luggage, took his boarding pass, and arrived at the security check area according to the sign. Since Yenjika helped to book the tickets, she chose the first-class cabin out of habit, so Lu Qing didn't have to wait in the long line. After a short wait, he finished the security check through the VIP passage and found the corresponding airline's VIP lounge, where he had a free buffet. When it was almost boarding time, Lu Qing didn't hear any news of delay. He secretly praised his good luck for taking a plane for the first time and showed it off to Yenjika. Then he left the VIP lounge and boarded the plane without waiting in line. This was a medium-sized passenger plane. The seats in the first-class business class were essentially the same as those in the economy class, except that they were more spacious. There were 4 seats in the first 2 classes, 2 seats on the left and right sides, and 6 seats in the latter class. Lu Qing found his seat according to the information on his boarding pass. He stuffed his backpack into the luggage rack and sat by the window, looking at the blazing sun outside. To be honest, the news revealed by Masterly last night made him, who had not seen much of the world, a little nervous. He could not help but think about all sorts of things. Although this was just an episode, an unremarkable wave that was unlikely to become reality, what if he encountered a lunatic? Lu Qing, who had read a lot of novels, knew very well that killing had nothing to do with the level of martial arts. With the right arrangement and plan, even a weak child could kill an adult man. Dan's stage and physical invulnerability mighty ones had families and jobs and belonged to the middle and upper class of society, so they didn't need to take risks for money. But what about other people? I'm not afraid of sniping, but I can't guard against poison. If it doesn't taste right, I'll spit it out immediately. Besides, there were bombs, car accidents. Lu Cheng's thoughts flew. Unknowingly, the passenger next to him came. He waited for the plane to taxi, the end of the traffic control, and the climb to the blue sky. According to popular literature, a certain country's intelligence agency was best at silencing people with a plane crash. This was the best way to avoid leaving any clues. Lu Cheng's heart tightened. He quickly extinguished the thought in his mind. He took a deep breath and visualized the scene of water turning into ice. He began to recall Coach Yan's guidance. It won't be too exaggerated. After all, they are from the same sect. There are elders above and the country watching. Unless it's a life and death situation, there will be a minimum level of struggle. 30 million for a head is very strange. According to my deduction, someone must have released the news on purpose to stir up the situation. There won't be any follow-up. You don't need to think too much. Follow the rules and leave the rest to your master. Trust your elders' experience and ability. Coach Yan is really a rational girl. Lu Qing felt the turbulence caused by the turbulence of the plane and looked out of the window again. Below the plane was a boundless sea of clouds. White snow, piled up into mountains, waves, and all kinds of strange shapes. In the distance, the scorching sun was shining brightly, dyeing everything golden. 2.5 hours later, the plane landed on time at Shanggao Airport in Weihua Province. Lu Cheng's last worry was gone. Being high up in the sky, if anything were to happen, there was a limit to what he could do. It was truly beyond the control of others. But once his feet were on the ground, even if he didn't dare to say that he was in control of his own life and not the heavens, he could still deal with whatever came his way. No wonder some martial arts experts didn't like to take planes. No matter how far they were, they preferred to take trains or ships. Taoist Wuguang, the master of warrior sage Qian Donglu and the current sect leader of Shangqing sect, was one of them. Not long after landing, Lu Qing turned on his phone and texted Yan Jika that he had arrived safely. Then he got off the plane, picked up 4 bottles of wine, and carried his luggage to the arrival hall. He glanced around and suddenly saw a sign with the words Lu Qing of Xing Province written on it. He squinted and saw that it was held by a young girl. She was about 1. 7 meters tall and wore large sunglasses that covered half of her face. Her nose was straight and her lips were full. Her hair was straight and glossy. She wore a light-colored t-shirt and a white knee-length skirt. Her legs were bare, and she wore a pair of sandals. She attracted a lot of glances from the surrounding men. Although her legs were fair and straight, Lu Qing could tell from the girl's vigorous chi and blood that she could crush 1 or 2 heads with a kick. Is this how the sect welcomes its guests? He walked over as he pondered. The girl also noticed his presence from the way he was looking at her. She was stunned at first, then waved her right hand excitedly and shouted in a delicate voice, "Junior uncle. Junior uncle Lu Qing. You are." Lu Qing came to her side and asked cautiously. The girl didn't take off her sunglasses. She smiled and said, "I'm your martial niece, your cute and pretty martial niece. I was in the sect when I heard you were coming, so I volunteered to pick you up. Let's talk on the way to the parking lot. I'm Mo Jingting. You can call me Jingjing, Tingting or Jingting. Mo Jingting. Why does this name sound so familiar?" Lu Qing had seen his little fairy act coquettishly. How could he be confused by a few words? He picked up his phone and smiled. "I'll tell my master." "Okay." Mo Jingting put away the tag and stood elegantly. She still didn't take off her sunglasses. "Hello, master. I'm here. A martial niece named Mo Jingting is waiting for me at the airport." Lu Qing asked. Geezer sure chuckled. "This girl is not easy to deal with. Tell her to come and pick me up." "Forget it. Give her the phone. I'll tell her myself." "Okay." Lu Qing passed the phone to Mo Jingting. "Okay. Okay. Don't worry, martial uncle. We'll be right there." Mo Jingting said yes for a while, then hung up and returned the phone to Lu Qing. Lu Qing followed her to the parking lot after his master had confirmed it. On the way, the girl was quite cheerful and outgoing. She kept asking questions, as if she wanted to dig out all the secrets of his junior uncle. Lu Qing responded cautiously. He wasn't very enthusiastic. After boarding a Q7, Mo Jingting finally took off her huge sunglasses, revealing a face that looked both happy and angry at the same time. Her eyebrows were black but not ugly. On the contrary, she looked a little naive. Her eyes seemed to be naturally a little out of focus. She looked at everyone with misty eyes full of affection. Lu Qing glanced at her warily. He suddenly understood why the name Mo Jingting sounded so familiar to him. He had listened to her song last night. She was one of the more popular stars in recent years. She was an actress and had released 2 albums. She was about 21 or 22 years old. She was the most fantasized girl in the boys' dormitory. She was the dream girl of old Chiu and the beast next door. She's actually my martial niece. Damn it. She's obviously a few years older than me. How dare she act cute in front of me? Noticing Lu Qing's surprise, Mo Jingting fastened her seatbelt skillfully and said with a smile, "Junior uncle, you recognize me? I didn't want to fight in the ring in my prime. Plus, I had some connections in the sect, so I became a martial arts actor. I had a concert the day before yesterday and had a few days off, so I came back to have fun. Then, I met Junior Martial Uncle who wanted to formally become your disciple. I was curious, so I took the initiative to volunteer. Junior Martial Uncle, please help me adjust the rearview mirror. Move it up a little, move it a little." "Ah, I'll do it myself." She unfastened her seatbelt and leaned over Lu Qing. She reached out to adjust the rearview mirror of the passenger seat. The light and distant smell of perfume entered Lu Qing's nose. From this angle, Lu Qing could see the beautiful scenery as long as he lowered his head. Lu Qing leaned back and looked straight ahead. He was still digesting the fact that his martial niece was a star. But even a star is not as beautiful as my Ku. His eyes were gentle and his smile was hidden. After Mo Jingting adjusted the rearview mirror, fastened her seatbelt and started the car, Lu Qing took the initiative to ask, Junior. Martial niece, what is our sect called? Didn't Martial granduncle tell you before? Mo Jingting asked in surprise. No. Lu Qing answered honestly. Mo Jingting couldn't help but laugh. Junior uncle, why do I feel like you were abducted into the sect? Martial granduncle is too irresponsible. He doesn't say anything. Our sect is called the Ice God sect. To outsiders, the Ice Empress who created the Ice Divine Kung Fu thousands of years ago is the founder of the sect. But in fact, 573 years ago, Yang Qinghui from Weiyue obtained the incomplete version of the Ice Divine Kung Fu. That was how our sect came to be. More than 100 years ago, in order to complete this unique skill of the Ice sect, we joined forces with Haishi sect, Hanqi sect, and Dinghai sect to establish the Weiyue Club. We became one of the top forces at that time. At this point, Mo Jingting glanced sideways at Lu Qing and bit her lip slightly. Young martial uncle, if you hear any bad rumors these days, don't believe them. The Haishi sect, the Hanqi sect, and the Dinghai sect don't want our Ice God sect to be peaceful. It would be best if there is some internal strife. Could it be that these sects were behind the 30 million price? To incite internal strife in the Ice God sect. Lu Qing thought for a while and said, the Weiyue Club doesn't get along well with each other either. As he spoke, he quickly sent a message to Yan Jike and shared it with her with a stunned expression. The one who came to pick me up is Mo Jingting. The one who sang, Waiting for the Wind. She is my martial niece. She. Oh. Cheng, you are a disciple of the Ice God sect. Yan Jike quickly replied. Mo Jingting looked ahead and sighed. Our Ice God sect has produced 4 physical and vulnerability experts in 2 generations. We are in the leading position in the Weiyue Club. However, 3 of the 4 physical and vulnerability experts are old and are from the same generation as our martial granduncle. In this generation, only martial uncle Yue Jian is holding the fort. Huang Ku from Haishi sect is suppressing us and the clown from Dinghai sect is chasing after us. They don't want to break the alliance, but they want to change the current situation. Huang Ku from Haishi sect. Lu Qing whispered this name. Since he often watched top professional competitions, he naturally knew this expert. A 45-year-old expert with a title. The Spear King of the generation. Chapter 283. Dinghai sect's clown Gu Jianqi was very legendary. His parents had died when he was young, and he had been abducted and sold to the war-torn areas in the south. He had never received a proper martial arts education, and he had relied on a few manuals that could be found on the streets, talent, passion, focus, and 3 meals of fights to temper his unique martial arts. He had also developed a ruthless, rebellious, and unyielding character. People like him would usually die in some conflict before they reached adulthood. Fortunately, before that time came, he was noticed by an elder of the Dinghai sect who was passing by. Appreciating his talent and ability, the elder used his connections to bring him back to the country. At that time, he was just over 17 years old and his strength had already surpassed that of a normal professional 9th pin. After joining Dinghai sect, he didn't major in the Ice sect's secret arts like most mighty ones in Weiyue Club. Instead, he chose the incomplete version of the Death sect. After that, he made great strides and created miracles time and time again. From time to time, he would defeat stronger opponents. He reached 5th pin at 22 and stepped into the inhuman stage. At 25, which was last year, he made a great leap and achieved physical invulnerability. His nickname came from the clown tattoo on his arm and neck. Thinking about Gun King Huang Ku and Clown Gu Jianqi's situation, Lu Qing roughly understood why Mo Jingting had said that senior sister Tsukino had a mountain in front of her and an army behind her. According to public information, Shi Yuejian achieved physical invulnerability at 29 and was classified as a third pin. Now that 6 years had passed, she was still a third pin. Her momentum was no longer comparable to that of the clown, let alone catching up to Huang Ku. In the next few years, before the three mighty ones of physical invulnerability from the previous generation completely aged, the Ice God sect's position in Wuyue Club wouldn't be shaken. However, time is cruel. Once the heroes of the old era gradually left the stage and the rising stars of the new era couldn't replace them, the Ice God sect would definitely have to give up a large portion of the benefits. All the hustle and bustle in the world was for benefits. Understanding this, Lu Qing couldn't help but sigh. So you'll be beaten if you fall behind, isn't that so? I heard that you reached 8th pin in a year and are catching up to Ping Liyun and Ren Li. Everyone is looking forward to it. Mo Jingting tilted her head and winked, smiling sweetly. She seemed to be flirting with everyone she looked at. She made it sound like the whole sect is kind to me. Lu Cheng's heart skipped a beat, and he became even more wary of Mo Jingting. In the grand scheme of things, it was reasonable for the Ice God sect members to look forward to the geniuses and themselves. However, the world was filled with people who only cared about themselves and didn't care about the overall situation. You flatter me, I can't compare to Ping Liyun and Ren Li, Lu Qing replied to Yan Jike's message perfunctorily. Yeah, I just found out that I'm from the Ice God sect. Only after a year of apprenticeship and stepping into Core Chi realm did he know which sect he was a disciple of. Her master was too unreliable. Yan Jike giggled. You're living a tough life. Shi Yuejian of the Wuyue Club should be your senior sister. Coach Shi must be her senior. It's not that simple. My master has a daughter. Lu Qing could roughly guess the relationship between Shi Yuejian and his master. At the same time, he diverted some of his attention to listen to Mo Jingting talk about the internal strife of the Wuyue Club. Yan Jike talked about Shi Yuejian for a while, and suddenly asked, why did Mo Jingting take the initiative to pick you up? And she's alone. What's wrong with that? I called my master, and he didn't object. Lu Qing was confused. But my master just said that Mo Jingting was not easy to deal with. On the surface, there seems to be nothing wrong, but my intuition tells me that there's a problem. She's already half out of the martial arts world, so there's no need for her to be so passionate. Tell me what she did just now, don't leave out anything. Yan Jike crossed her hands and supported her chin. Nothing much. She just held up a sign and waited for me at the arrival hall. She acted cute and talked to my master for a while. Then she took me to the car and introduced the sect and Wuyue Club to me. She even asked me to adjust the rearview mirror for her. Lu Qing typed as he pondered. After a moment of silence, Yan Jike sent an emoji of sitting blankly. Silly boy, you were flirted with, huh? Lu Qing was confused. I can't figure it out. Did she think that you didn't adjust the mirror well enough, so she leaned over and adjusted it herself? Yan Jike replied. Yeah, how did you know? What's wrong with that? Lu Qing was very surprised. Thinking back to the scene where Mo Jingting leaned over and adjusted the rearview mirror, it was a bit ambiguous. Silly boy, her car is of high quality. The rearview mirror can be adjusted electronically, and she drove the car to the airport. Do you think she didn't adjust the rearview mirror well? Yan Jike sent an emoji of covering her face. F***CK. Lu Qing suddenly realized and felt that he was too naive. I didn't know. I didn't even get a driver's license, and we don't have a car, I believe you. She must have found out about this, that's why she flirted with you. Yenjika sent an emoji of exhalation. How did you feel when you were flirted with just now? I didn't feel anything. I'm such a decent person, and I still remember Coach Yan's teachings. I have to be careful of those who are especially passionate about me in the sect. I don't want to fall for the sugar-coated bullets. Lu Qing explained quickly. If you weren't afraid of the sugar-coated bullets, would you feel anything? She's a superstar who threw herself at you. Yenjika sent an emoji of go away. Being tricked by Yenjika again. Lu Qing sent an emoji of injustice. I'm someone who has been flirted with by a little fairy, why would I be attracted by someone below the standard? When did I flirt with you? Don't leave after school, tell me clearly. Yenjika said angrily. On a certain day, I woke up with a mouth full of lip balm. Snickering emoji, Lu Qing replied. That's not true. And Mo Jingting doesn't count as below the standard. You're exaggerating. Looking up at the sky expression, Yenjika sent an emoji. My standard is based on a little fairy. Lu Qing changed the topic. What do you think Mo Jingting is trying to do by flirting with me? Yenjika sent a picture of Ishio and Guga chattering. The first possibility is to ruin your reputation. Martial uncle and martial nephew being together is a big scandal in the Jianghu. The second possibility is just like what I've analyzed before. She's trying to seduce you and lead you astray. Today she'll find you a few celebrities, tomorrow she'll find you a few models, and the next day she'll throw you a feast or something to liven things up. Why are you so detailed? Lu Qing wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. I'm afraid you'll fall for it, so I specially consulted someone and listed out the situation. Raising head proudly emoji, Yenjika sent. Lu Qing was about to say something when he suddenly felt a hint of jealousy in her words. He was delighted and laughed. Are you jealous? Yenjika, who was always rational, couldn't help but feel jealous when she knew there was nothing going on. No. Yenjika denied firmly. She hurriedly continued, the third possibility is that she's always been able to get the best resources in the entertainment circle because of the Ice Gods sect and Wua Club behind her. She also knows that she's given up on martial arts and probably won't be able to enter the Danchi state in this lifetime. She won't have an important position in the sect. Once her original backing loses its influence, it'll be hard for her to be in the limelight again. It's not strange that she hooked up with you in advance as an investment. Lu Qing pondered for a while and smiled as he typed on the keyboard. Unfortunately, I only have eyes for my little fairy. Don't be so mushy. Yenjika scolded. Mo Jingting glanced at Lu Qing and asked in confusion, young martial uncle, what are you laughing at? I was chatting with my girlfriend. She said that my martial nephew is a superstar. Lu Qing answered meaningfully. You have a girlfriend? Mo Jingting was stunned. Yes. Lu Qing's smile was obvious and his eyes were gentle. It seems that you like her a lot. Mo Jingting subconsciously asked. Of course. Lu Qing admitted it without feeling embarrassed at all. Mo Jingting pouted and said, young martial uncle, I'm so envious of her. At this moment, there was a car in front of them. Mo Jingting stepped on the brakes and let the handbag beside her roll down. The handbag had a zipper and was not closed, so the bottles and cans inside were scattered all over the ground. Young martial uncle, help me pick them up. Mo Jingting requested in a coquettish tone. Lu Qing bent down and picked up the handbag. He picked up the things that had rolled to his side and put them in the bag. The two lipstick and lipstick on the opposite side happened to be under Mo Jingting's body. Looking at the pair of white, tender, and straight legs, Lu Qing wanted to lean over to pick them up. But he laughed and said frankly, you can pick up the rest when we stop the car. Anyway, you won't lose them. Seeing that there was no hesitation in his expression, Mo Jingting was silent for a while and then put on a bright smile again. "Yo, young martial uncle, you're really a gentleman." She resolved the awkwardness with this attitude and continued to talk about the internal affairs of the sect. At this time, Yanjike sent a new message to Lu Qing. "I've asked around. Mo Jingting is the grand disciple of He Yi, the leader of the Ice God sect. She's the disciple of his eldest disciple, Yang Xianlong. He Yi is a physical invulnerability mighty one and should be considered your martial uncle. Yang Xianlong is the eldest senior brother of your generation. He's from the same generation as Spear King Huang Ku, but he hasn't been able to reach the physical invulnerability mighty one. He's 50 years old now, but he's still a professional fourth pin dan stage. Among his disciples, the most valued one was his second disciple, Zhu Tai. He reached the dan stage at the age of 20, but only reached the high pin at the age of 28. Anyway, listen to your master later. If you have any thoughts, tell him honestly. Don't hide anything. Mo Jingting is a disciple of the sect leader." Lu Qing nodded slightly. At this time, Mo Jingting parked the car by the roadside. There was a villa area nearby. Geezer Shi, wearing an old man's shirt, stood there unsteadily without any image of a mighty one with physical invulnerability. Lu Qing quickly got out of the car and opened the back door. He handed over the original proof wine that had always been beside him. "Master, this is a specialty of our place." Geezer Shi smiled satisfactorily and took the wine before sitting in the car. He opened the bottle and took a sip. "This wine is good. You still have some conscience. You still remember to show filial piety to your master. Your disciple's wife is considerate." Lu Qing answered silently. He didn't sit in the front passenger seat anymore. He sat side by side with his master and was completely relieved. He would listen to his master's instructions from now on. Martial granduncle, the more you live, the more spirited you are. The more you live, the more carefree you are. Mo Jingting smiled and complimented. Geezer Shi chuckled and said, "Of course I'm comfortable. I don't have to worry about the internal affairs of the sect. I take the offerings and enjoy the benefits. I don't have to be busy. I only have to do something once in a while. Why wouldn't I be comfortable?" Speaking of this, he turned to Lu Qing and asked in front of Mo Jingting, "Brat, do you want to be high and mighty in the future and be so busy that your feet don't touch the ground? Or do you want to be as comfortable as an old man like me? Do you want to fight in the arena and accompany your wife?" Before Lu Qing could answer, he clearly felt Mo Jingting's body tensing up. He took a breath and recalled the busy, boring, and annoying times after winning the championship. He said sincerely, "I want to focus on martial arts." Chapter 284. I want to focus purely on martial arts. After saying this, Lu Qing felt as if the dust in his heart had been swept away. Those social interactions, quarrels, trifles, and turbulent undercurrents were all not what he wanted. Being sincere to martial arts, to the people he loved, even if it was just holding textbooks and discussing topics, was much better than fighting for power. At the same time, he felt Mo Jingting's tense body soften. She smiled with a delicate voice and said, "Martial granduncle, what you said just now was wrong. Nowadays, professionalism is very important. There are professional managers and talented disciples in the company watching over them. The sect leader is just a general manager and a supervisor. How can he be so busy? He's also very free and leisurely." What does she mean? Which side is Mo Jingting on? What is she thinking? Or is she just saying it casually to diffuse the awkwardness? Lu Qing was stunned. He was puzzled by the words of the sect leader's martial niece. Compared to her, his social experience was indeed too shallow. You little girl, you can't even hear a word of truth from your mouth. How many companies have the sect developed until now? How many industries are involved? Just the supervision alone is enough to give me a headache. Besides, this is not the only thing. Within the sect, within the alliance, and in the Jianghu, there are many traps that need to be kept alert. Geezer sure snorted. He looked as if he had eaten more salt than she had eaten rice. These can also be assisted by people who are good at them. The sect leader is very leisurely. He only needs 3 to 4 hours of work every day. Mo Jingting answered with a smile. Geezer sure ignored her and turned to look at his silly disciple. Don't rush to answer. Think carefully. Don't worry about external factors. If you're afraid of these little things, how can you survive in the Jianghu in the future? Don't think about other things. Just ask yourself what you really want. Someone once said that once you've tasted power, it's like being addicted to drugs. Don't make a decision blindly because you haven't experienced it. He said it casually, but the meaning behind his words made Mo Jingting stunned. She unconsciously frowned. Is this the spirit of a mighty one with physical invulnerability? Don't worry about external factors. With me here, it's not a problem. Yes, Master. Lu Qing closed his eyes, reminiscing about the past, imagining some scenes he had seen on TV and heard from others. Geezer sure chuckled and said, I won't say more about the benefits of being in charge of a sect. But if you choose to be an idle person, you won't have to stick to the Wiyue Club if you really have the chance to participate in the top professional competitions in the future. Ah! How can I not participate in the Wiyue Club? Lu Qing opened his eyes in surprise. Once he knew about the situation of the sect, he believed that joining the Wiyue Club would be a sure thing after he reached the high pin or even the physical invulnerability stage. How could he betray the sect? Geezer sure clicked his tongue and said, the Wiyue Club is just an alliance, not a sect. We've done our duty by ensuring that there is one physical invulnerability expert representing the Wiyue Club in the top professional competitions. Other powers are willing to recruit guest elders. You don't teach your martial arts to outsiders, don't hold authority, and don't do things that are detrimental to the foundation of the Wiyue Club. Joining them is not a betrayal. There are precedents. However, sects like Daxing Temple and Shangqing Sect almost never invite guest elders. Like Yanzhao League and Longhu Club, there is no lack of foreign mighty ones. Heh, you can also marry into Shushan study. I don't mind. Marry into. Lu Qing wiped the cold sweat in his heart. He wanted to roll his eyes at his master. Marry into Shushan study. Mo Jingting's plump lips were half opened. She took a deep breath thoughtfully. At this point, Geezer sure sighed. Shangqing, Shushan, and Longhu Club are in charge of the restriction sect of Taoism. I've been eyeing it for many years. Sigh, the restriction sect, the head of the 5 sects' unique arts of Taoism, is in the hands of Shangqing Sect, Shushan Study, and Longhu Club. Lu Qing had never heard of such a secret before. He blurted out, I thought part of it would be in the hands of the government. No wonder these 3 sects, regardless of their ups and downs, were always in the top 6 of the top forces. Geezer sure looked at him as if he was looking at an idiot. Longhu Club has caught up with the sects with a long history in more than 30 years. Who do you think is behind them? Oh, I see. Lu Qing didn't care about his master's look at all. He took out his phone and shared the news with Ku out of habit. I know. My grandpa and grandma have experienced it. The one in Shushan Study's hands is called the Tai Ching chapter. Yenjika sent a blank emoji and shared the secret with her boyfriend. I just found out about Longhu Club. Sigh, I'm so ignorant. It's all my grandpa's fault. They rarely talk about this. Same. My master looked at me like I was an idiot just now. Lu Qing complained to his girlfriend. You are an idiot, Qing. You don't even know you're being flirted with. Yenjika snorted. It means I'm simple and honest. I only have my little fairy in my heart. Lu Qing said affectionately. After the conversation just now, Mo Jingting became silent and focused on driving. It was not until they got out of the ring road and turned into the winding mountain road that she regained her cheerfulness. She introduced with a smile, Junior uncle, nominally, the sect is still halfway up Mount Yanbing, but people rarely come back. There are hardly many people here unless there is a formal ceremony. However, it's very nice to come here for a holiday. It's especially good to avoid the heat in summer. Why? Lu Qing asked in confusion. Gizershur said impatiently, today is different from the past. A sect gathering in the wilderness, are they waiting to be bombed by missiles? Are they waiting to be wiped out? Mo Jingting laughed and added, the sect has an ice god building in the busiest business district in Moshang. All the daily affairs are done there. Normally, everyone lives in their own places. Only the junior brothers and sisters who haven't finished their apprenticeship are arranged together. Every year, they are locked up here to practice martial arts for a period of time. Moshang was the provincial capital of Wuyue. While listening to the introduction, Lu Qing was also reading the information provided by his little fairy, such as the famous disciples and their respective masters. When they were halfway up the mountain, he had a preliminary but relatively complete understanding of the ice god sect. He, Shengguitian, and his master, who was not well known, were the previous generation's 3 physical invulnerability elders. There were still a few Dan stage experts of the same generation, but their physical condition was much worse. There was no need for them to not fight. In his generation, there was senior sister Yuejian, a physical invulnerability expert. There were also 4 high-ranked Dan stage senior brothers and sisters who were in charge of different affairs in the sect, assisting the sect leader. There were also a dozen Dan stage peers who were basically managing the sect's businesses. In the next generation, the oldest was only in his 30s. Including Zhu Tai, there were 2 high-ranked ones and 10 low-ranked ones. Some entered the Wuyue Club to train with the physical invulnerability mighty ones, and some participated in professional competitions at other levels. One of the Wuyue Club's sects had more than 30 Dan stage experts, which showed how terrifying the top forces were. The Shengqing sect alone probably had more Dan stage experts than the whole Xing province. In the next generation, there were not many disciples, and most of them were underage. We're here, Mo Jingting announced in a light tone and parked the car outside the mountain gate. The nearby pine forest was like a sea, and the sound of waves brought a refreshing feeling in the hot summer. The mountain gate was carved out of a huge stone, ancient and simple, with the words, Ice God Sect written on it. Let's go meet your sect leader uncle first. You'll officially become his disciple tomorrow. Gizershur got out of the car leisurely. Okay. Lu Qing followed obediently. Mo Jingting unbuckled her seatbelt, leaned over to the window, and said with a smile, Junior uncle, let's add each other on WeChat. We'll be fellow disciples in the future. My poor junior nephew will have to rely on you to take care of him. I don't use WeChat. Lu Qing declined politely. He had applied for WeChat, but no one around him used it, so he was too lazy to do it himself. Okay. Mo Jingting curled her lips and showed an aggrieved expression. She sat up straight and drove the car to the parking place. Gizershur stood beside them and quietly watched their conversation. Then, he clicked his tongue and said, This girl is so cunning. When she was still in the sect, she made a bunch of senior brothers fall head over heels in love with her. In the end, none of them even touched her hand. Master, it's not good for you to say that. Lu Cheng's mouth twitched. You're an elder. How can you say that behind my back? What's not good about it? If they can do it, I can say it. Geezer chuckled. This girl has been in the entertainment industry for a few years now. She's getting more and more capable. Don't be fooled. Master, don't worry. I'm not that kind of person. Lu Qing replied calmly. I only like girls like little fairies. Just as he finished speaking, he suddenly received a message from an unknown number. Young martial uncle, this is my phone number. Take care of me in the future. Your cute and pretty martial nephew, D. Lu Qing shook his head. He only felt that this guy was a little annoying, so he casually saved the name martial nephew. Mo Geezer sure didn't say anything else. He led Lu Qing through the halls and rooms, past the patrolling disciples, and arrived at the place where the plaque, East Queen Pavilion, was hung. Have you thought about what happened before? Geezer sure stopped here and asked again. He didn't hide his voice. Master, my answer is still the same. I want to focus on martial arts. Lu Qing answered seriously. With strength, there would naturally be corresponding benefits. There was no need to scheme and fight for power. Wouldn't it be better to live a simple and leisurely life? Okay, let's go in. Geezer sure led his disciple, pushed open the door, and walked in. Inside, an old man with sparse white hair was standing behind the desk. His cheeks were sagging, and the wrinkles at the corners of his eyes were deep. At this moment, he smiled and greeted them. Jiangwo, is this Lu Qing? Jiangwo. Sure, Jiangwo. This is Master's name. Lu Qing suddenly felt like laughing. Considering Master's age, this name is really unique. It just lacks the feeling of a master of a generation. The master of a generation, sure, Jiangwo. Geezer sure glared at his disciple. Yes, senior brother sect leader, this is my useless disciple. Chapter 285. He, the head of the Ice God sect, burst into laughter. If he is a good-for-nothing, what about the other disciples? Lu Qing took a step forward while the two elders were talking and said respectfully, Nice to meet you, martial uncle sect leader. Good, good. The wrinkles at the corners of He Yi's eyes unfolded layer by layer. I've seen your last 2 matches. You've reached more than level 8 in 1 year. You've even reached level 7. In the history of our Ice God sect, you're already very rare. Well, martial uncle sect leader seems to be more cultured than master. Lu Qing said with a smile. I can't reach professional 7th pin in a year, so I don't plan to attend the ranking event in October. I plan to attend it in April next year. The reason why he was able to defeat Zhang Zhutong and Han Jifei was mainly because he didn't show his true strength in the beginning, causing his opponents to misjudge him. With a bit of luck and a bit of quick-wittedness, he barely managed to win the youth tournament. Through these 2 matches, others could basically figure out his general situation. In this case, if he attended the ranking event of professional 7th pin in October, he would have less than a 50% chance of winning. He'd better consolidate his foundation and break through the limits of the human body and register at the end of April or early May next year. Of course, the premise was that he didn't change much by squeezing the Jin Dan to improve his supernatural ability. He nodded slightly and praised him. Very good. You're not in a hurry, unlike your master who was impulsive when he was young. I'm full of youthful spirit. The white-haired geezer sure retorted. He shook his head and smiled. 3 years old can tell the difference. Well, you take martial nephew Lu to the Songtao Pavilion. Tomorrow morning at 9:15 a.m. he'll formally become your disciple. At this point, he looked at Lu Qing and said, Tomorrow is just a formality. You are now an official disciple of our sect. This is also your home, so you don't have to be too restrained. If you have nothing to do at night, you can walk around and interact with your fellow disciples. Hee, don't be too afraid of strangers. He deliberately emphasized the word friendly, as if he was making a final decision. But don't get close to the Tingxian pavilion, so as not to disturb the guests from Haishi sect, Dinghai sect, and Hanqi. He added. There are guests. Lu Qing blurted out in surprise. Wouldn't this seem too solemn? Our sects are united, and that's why we're in this situation today. They came here with good intentions, so we can't stop them, right? He replied meaningfully. Hey, we old guys are here. Let's just watch the ceremony. What can happen? Gizershur said grumpily, I'll take this brat to the Songtao pavilion. He nodded. Go ahead. If you're too tired, it's fine to meet your fellow disciples tomorrow. After watching the two of them leave the Ice Queen pavilion, a well-built man came down the stairs. His hair was black, and his skin was wrinkle-free. He didn't look to be in his 40s, but his eyes were filled with the vicissitudes of time. Master, isn't this apprenticeship ceremony a little too solemn? The man frowned and asked. He chuckled. Solemn. If it's just a professional 7th or 8th pin disciple, there's no need to be so solemn. But this is a disciple who reached professional 8th pin or even professional 7th pin within a year, and he's not even 20 yet. You heard the conversation between him and your martial uncle, sure. Your little junior brother doesn't like to meddle in things. Xianlong, don't think too much. Don't play tricks in the dark and ruin the atmosphere in the sect. You'll be mocked by the Ocean West Gate and the Dinghai sect. This was Yang Xianlong, the eldest disciple in charge of the daily affairs of the Ice God sect. He was a professional 4th pin Dan stage expert in his 50s. His brows were still furrowed, and he said worriedly, words don't mean anything, do you want me to sign a document? Since they said so, in front of me, they definitely won't go back on their words before I can move. He shook his head. Tell Lei Fong that if he can become a physical invulnerability expert, it'll be his. No one can take it away from him. If he can't get what's not his. In the martial arts sect, strength is the foundation of everything. We can squeeze 1 or 2 people away with connections and outside help, but we can't squeeze out everyone else. Yes, Master. Yang Xianlong lowered his head and answered. He turned and left the Ice Queen pavilion. He stood in the cold room for a long time before he sighed. The scenery in the Songtao pavilion was great. When he opened the window on the 2nd floor, he could see a sea of trees swaying in the wind. Don't go out tonight. Have a good rest. Tomorrow, after the formal apprenticeship ceremony, you can come to my place. I've got the visualization diagram of Zhu Rong Force. Gizershur carried the 4 bottles of original proof spirits in his hands and then disappeared in a flash. He was enjoying himself happily. Zhu Rong Force. Lu Qing was excited and full of expectation. Having been on the move all the way, his mind was a little tired. He laid on the bed and chatted with his little fairy, chatting idly with his classmates, and browsing the forums and Weibo at the same time. He was living a leisurely life, without the slightest intention of going out to make friends with his fellow disciples. Half a day of leisure. After eating the dinner sent by the servant, he took out the computer in his bag and planned to play games before the video chat with Yenjika. Who is a guest at someone's house? Who wants a game? If not, I'll ask later. He sent a message in the university dormitory group and high school friend group. Kai Xiaoming laughed. When we were short of hands, you were either with Yenjika or in the challenge tournament. Now that you have nothing to do, you want to play games with us. Love is not something you can buy whenever you want. At least treat us to a seafood meal. Brother Cheng, Master Cheng, it's 600,000 yuan. See this money? I bought a gift for Ko. Why should I treat you to a seafood meal? Lu Qing sent a picture of throwing money. It was quite interesting to bicker with Casanova every day. Ugh! You're getting more and more disgusting. How dare you call yourself cool? Kai Zhongming made a vomiting gesture. And your fingers are getting more nimble and faster. It's boring to play with you, of course it's boring to be abused all the time, I'm already controlling myself. I don't dare to use my full strength. Otherwise, the screen will be broken. Lu Qing laughed with arms akimbo. By the way, Casanova, how's your training during the summer vacation? Ha, I'm invincible in our small city. Okay, I won't brag. I think it's not a problem to dominate our community. I think I've improved a lot. I think I'm at least of amateur second or third pin. Kai Zhongming answered with uncertainty. While the two of them were chatting, Kai Zhongming's dormitory mate, Qin Mo, the local rich second generation of Songqing, appeared. Perfect, perfect. Since both of you are here, vote for me. One phone number can give 10 votes. What votes? Lu Qing asked casually. A selection. Vote for my Jingting. Qin Mo sent a link. It was a vote for Mo Jingting in a music show. F***CK. Why didn't I see that a beast like you would chase after stars? Every time they talked about this, Kai Zhongming would make a sarcastic remark to show his true colors. Qin Mo replied with a bleak expression, everyone has a white moonlight in their heart. I just happened to be hit by her. F***CK off. Jingting is mine. Old Chiu also showed up and played the part. Zhao Chang, the scholar, sighed helplessly. It's the nth degree season again. We can only help a little. Lu Qing couldn't help but twitch his mouth when he saw everyone making a racket. In the past, I quite liked Mo Jingting's TV shows and songs. But now, she doesn't seem to match her image at all. It's better to hear about her than to meet her in person. Before he could say anything, Jiang Fei responded. They formed a team and started to play games. When Yan Zhika returned home and turned on the computer, Lu Qing pretended to be offline and tricked his teammates. Just as he was enjoying the video chat, he suddenly received a message from martial nephew Mo, young martial uncle, isn't the scenery of the sect beautiful at night? Oh, intersection, oh, not beautiful. F***CK off. Lu Qing complained in his heart. He put his phone aside and continued the video chat. He planned to reply when he was free. Then, he forgot about it. On the second floor of Tingxian Pavilion, a well-proportioned woman with shoulder-length straight hair was admiring the sea of pine trees at night. Senior sister, why do you think Master asked us to come here to watch the ceremony? Their elders are here. We can't do anything since we can't beat them. A baby-faced young man came out of the room. The woman with shoulder-length straight hair laughed. Master's purpose is very simple. Since we're here and we're standing there, there's a comparison. 25-year-old high rank and 22-year-old rank is 6. This is the comparison. But that Lu Qing reached 7th pin in 1 year. That's quite impressive. The baby-faced young man spread his hands helplessly and started to browse Weibo. Suddenly, his eyes lit up when he saw a hot news. Xing Province Young Martial Artist Record, for Heavenly Sons. And the one with the most likes below was, how can they be called Heavenly Sons? In my opinion, only Peng Liyun and Ren Li are in this generation. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.